everybody.
We are back just cause we made it another week.
I don't even know how we do it at this point.
It's just like I don't know if they expect it or if we expect it, but we're here.
We just come in. It's Saturday morning. Let's go.
Let's get it cracking, man. So yeah, man.
A lot of stuff going on this week. Well,
a lot happening.
Well, the first thing I want to point out today is that down at the Chinook Center, it's starting in an hour. There's a mutual aid sleeping bag drive. So I want to say Action for Radical Colorado is collecting sleeping bags to give out to people that are experiencing homelessness.
Okay.
So go get a sleeping bag. We've been talking about this for weeks. If you guys haven't gotten a sleeping bag by now, shame on you all.
Right.
But go pick up a sleeping bag, drop it off. You can do it contactless. They're going to have their pickup truck out front. Just drive by. You can just throw the sleeping bag out your window. You don't have to worry about getting COVID. Throw it out the window into the back of the truck. There'll be a banner and everything so you can see it.
Yeah, that's good, man. We definitely need the help down there, man. You know it's getting cold. Yeah. Look, I know I feel it every time I come outside, man. I'm like, oh my goodness, man, that hawk is back, man. So, you know what I'm saying? Let's make sure we take care of the people that the best way we can. Go out, don't get no cheap sleeping bag that's just gonna get wet and sopped up and they can't use, you know what I'm saying? This is definitely for people that have a steady income. That can afford this for folks, you know what I'm saying? We're just asking for you to do that for them right now, man, before it gets hectic in the holiday season, man.
And if you forgot, just go by Sportsman's Warehouse or REI or Target or Walmart and go get a sleeping bag.
Right, sleeping bag with the stuff set so they can make it small, you know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, exactly.
So they can put it in their bags and stuff like that, man. Yeah, bro. So anyway, what's happening with it? Where we at, John?
Well, this week, we wanted to talk. I mean, we're going to do Dunce of the Week. We're going to try and keep Dunce of the Week regular. But this week, we're going to be talking about what have we learned over the last 6 months. I know it seems like John and Shaun already know everything.
Hey, let them tell it. They be like, Shaun, you can't be wrong sometimes, bro. I'm like, when?
But I don't know. Actually, I guess we'll see what we've learned over the last 6 months, or if we were just correct the whole time.
Right. Well, I guess so. I mean, I think some of it we was good. Some of it, there was I don't think there was really nothing. There might have been some things we was wrong about. We'll talk about it.
I can't think of anything I've ever been wrong about.
Now with this stuff, man, I think that every time that we come out, we got an organized thought, behind what we're talking about and why we're saying it and what it means and we don't really say things that don't need to be said, or, you know what I mean? Right. So,
and sometimes we say things that probably shouldn't have been said.
Right. Maybe sometimes. But, or say things that people just don't want to, man.
Talk about
or can't, like for whatever reason, they're in whatever place in their life or whatever, they can't say it or don't want to talk about it or whatnot. But everybody thinks about these things, man. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, man. But now, not only being able to talk about it, but having the outlets to handle whatever it is that may come up.
Exactly.
There's a lot of things coming that has arose in the city since in the past 6 months or whatnot. Exactly. Since this stuff has happened.
7 months.
About that,
yeah, 6, 7 months, right?
Yeah.
And so, this isn't our year-end retrospective, by the way, guys. That's coming up next month.
Right. Yeah. This is just kind of like the preamble to it, because it was a lot, man, and I figured we needed to. Well, I guess we figured that we needed to lay it out kind of and see what it really looked like from a 30,000 foot view, kind of like.
And we're nothing if not reflective.
Exactly that. I know that, right?
Well, let's start
from our mistakes, man.
Let's start with our dunce. We should say dunces of the week. Well, it depends on how we're talking about it.
Yeah.
So
if it's a collective or
if it's the individuals on the collective, and
right.
that's a difficult discussion.
Yeah.
As a sociologist, even it's hard to say. Like,
hey, I say that for right now, we'll just count them as one.
All right.
The one collective dunce.
The one collective dunce of the week is. I just had to go with this because they had a meeting recently. Yeah. Is the LETAC, which nobody knows what that is. If we were to say the dunce of the week is LETAC, everybody like what on earth are you talking about?
Anyway, go ahead.
But let's go. Let's remember. Speaking of this year, let's remember months back when we were all talking about the Oversight Commission, the Police Oversight Commission.
Yes.
And they decided to form the Police Oversight Commission.
Right.
And then they decided to give it this ridiculous name called LETAC.
LETAC.
That also sounds like a neighbor you wouldn't like.
Right, or like a police, like a part or arm of the police department.
Right. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. So the LETAC is the Law Enforcement Transparency and Accountability Commission. We'll just call it the Oversight Commission for now.
Yeah.
Even though they don't have oversight, and they don't provide accountability or transparency.
None of that.
They should just call themselves the Law Enforcement Commission.
Right.
Because they have like cops on it.
They do.
And they just give a voice to the
family
cops.
of cops on it.
Yeah, cops' families.
So it's like an extended voice of the cops.
Yeah, exactly. Just like another.
Should it be under the union, the police union?
Yeah, maybe they should just integrate this into the police union.
Right, so that way the police department can just like detach from
it.
Like,
and
we
pretend
don't,
like
we're not
it's
really don't have anything to do with it. Right. Maybe it should be an arm of the union.
Yeah, exactly. So they have been having their meetings, they've gotten all formed, and most recently they had a meeting in which they were discussing the budget. And of course, if you guys have been watching the show, listening to the show, you know that a big coalition of groups has been working on trying to reduce the police budget because there's no correlation between the size of a police budget and crime. There just isn't. Look across cities around the country, around the world. It doesn't matter if you have a huge police budget or a smaller police budget, has no influence on crime. Because, big surprise,
it doesn't do anything for a crime.
Because crime is caused by other things.
Right.
People not having enough food to eat, addiction, things like this.
Right. Look at Portland. Yeah, with the drugs, they legalized everything because these laws were not stopping any of that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So let's put the money somewhere else, guys.
Exactly. And the more laws you have, the more crimes there are.
Right.
So we have had this people's budget, and I want to say at the end of October, we had people that flooded the budget town hall calling in. They wouldn't let Shaun call in.
Right. Yeah, I got hung up on. I said my name and it was like, okay, hold on.
Shaun Walsh.
Right. It was not letting me talk, man.
This is Shaun Walsh.
Right. It's Shaun. Nah. You can't be on there, boy. They would not put your boy on there.
But so we had a bunch of people call in. It was the only message that came across during the budget commission meeting was no more money for cops. We don't want you to hire more cops. I was like, and the people are like, we heard you loud and clear. Yeah, all the city councilors, we got it. I got a message from Tom Strand, my favorite city councilor. Said, we heard your message loud and clear.
Tom Strand is the one that has the baby ears, right? He can't stand cursing. Right. He's a great leader, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially in this time.
Exactly. So, and then apparently, I don't know how this all worked out, LETAC decided to invite Chief Niski to talk about the police budget. What a weird coincidence, right?
Invited him.
I guess. So,
okay.
This made me remember a year ago when a bunch of activists showed up to talk about the budget last year after the Devon Bailey shooting.
Yeah.
And everybody was asking, like, can we just have some money redirected from police out on the streets towards, like, some sort of police oversight or police training, so on and so forth. Let's redirect some of that budget.
There was, like, this big research program done. I don't know if it's a program or what
project.
Project. A big research project done on this. It was presented at Promise Lee's church, right? Is this the same one we're talking about?
Well, yeah, I was talking about specifically when activists showed up to the budget meeting, but there was also that too. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And I remember that there were some students from one of the institutions here with CC, and he was like, I don't know where this research came from. This doesn't make sense to me.
You guys are lying, essentially.
It was like clear cut, bro. Like, you guys are doing wrong stuff. You know what I'm saying? One of them that stuck, and I won't ever forget, is that, like there's a list of best practices. Nationwide best practices. In Colorado Springs, none of them, not one of them do they participate in.
Exactly.
So anyway, that stuck with me, man.
Yeah, but so last year people showed up to the budget meeting, and then there's like, a series of budget meetings. The next day, more activists showed up, and they asked Chief Niski to come and talk about the police department and the budget and why it's important that he gets more cops and blah, blah, blah. And he was allowed to go back and forth up to the podium and explain things, and we were all supposed to just sit in the, I don't know what they're called at city council chambers, the pews I call them, because it is a lot like church, because you're not allowed to curse, I guess.
Right. According to this guy.
And he just gets to go up and talk about stuff, and every time we speak up, they're like, don't you dare.
Yeah.
So,
and I gotta say, man, that it's kind of like being black.
Right.
Yeah.
Jeez, wow.
That's exactly what that is, man.
Well,
you know, where you got something to say, and it's like, you're not relevant here, you know, and it's when, you know, when they go to school, maybe not just being black, being poor, because, you know, if you're one of the dirty kids, you know, you're
being marginalized in some way, right?
Yeah,
I guess that's the definition of
things happen to
marginalization,
you,
right?
yeah, so you know what I'm saying? Anyway, that's exactly what that is, and it was like right in front of all of our faces, too. It happened. That's why I became so emotional about, you know, this, and you know, members that are up on this LETAC committee or whatever you call it, told me, no, you can't make this personal. It's not personal, man. It's not personal.
Exactly.
I'm like, bro, yeah, man. So you know, me and him, we couldn't even conversate, you know,
because
past
it's
that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
Well, the cops just ignored. Like Chief Niski on so many occasions has been like, I don't believe your experience. Like whenever black people are like, no, this is our experience in this community. He's like, but that's not true.
Exactly.
And like, how do you talk to somebody like that?
Yeah, you can't even do it. Yeah.
So anyway, he shows up last year and talks and is like, we need more money for cops, blah, blah, blah. And everybody's like, gosh, okay. And we're like, hi, can we say something? And they're like, don't you ever think about saying anything again. And so this year, the same thing happens, but this time it's under the guise of the Oversight Commission. So Chief Niski just gets to go over to the Oversight Commission and talk about why he needs more cops. He needs more money for the budget. And we had people that were there from our people's budget. Yeah. They weren't allowed to talk. The only people that were allowed to talk were the Police Accountability Commission folks and Chief Niski.
Right.
And a lot of the people didn't even talk.
Exactly, because what I was going to say is because, and most of them don't even do the research for this, man. They don't know. They're not reading through this stuff and understanding it. They don't have an expertise in this stuff. So obviously they need to ask the community who they're supposed to be representing, who does have or do have these experts, or, you know, they're not experts, but yeah, there are experts in this stuff in the community that are trying to work on this stuff. And none of them know anybody on this LETAC. Is it you call it a LETAC committee or commission?
I guess it's LETAC.
Or just LETAC because it ends in commission? Yeah, whatever, man. Yeah. Whoever they are, but they don't talk to any of these folks. And here's the thing. The funny word about community and representing the community is, yes, they do. They live here, so they do represent the community. You know what I'm saying? But they recognize, the people on this committee recognize that they're not really part of this community, of this activist community, of the South Side community, of the West Side community. You know, they're not really in that. You know what I'm saying? Because none of us know them.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? None of us know them. And the ones that we do know, we don't mess with them. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Nobody messes with them. So it's obvious that this thing was constructed. Like I said, man, Southers is he's a master politician, man. And from the very beginning, and you know, we placed the blame where it belongs on the division when this all kicked off and where it happened, you know, and there definitely we needed better leadership in our community as activists.
Which this seems like a great segue into what we've learned.
What else we've learned?
But this is just exactly what happened. The commission itself did exactly, it was worse than I expected. Because you and I talked about this. We're like, you know, let's give it a chance.
Yeah.
Maybe this will do something. Right. But you know, I can't remember her name. She was with the Urban League before. She was like, we're really looking forward to working with you in the future, Chief. Like, emphasize with to like you know, exclude all those people that are like, oh, we're not one of those people, you know. And the only person who really spoke up is he's a teacher at Palmer, I believe. He was like the one that was actually questioning like Chief Niski about like use of force policies and these sorts of things.
Yeah.
But nobody else was like really questioning Niski's request for more money. And Niski himself said, you know, after we reach our 120 new officers that they've been trying to get out for the last 5 years or whatever, he's like, I'm going to go and ask the mayor for more.
Right, yeah.
He was just like thumbing his nose like
he's saying like, you guys are nothing here.
Yep.
Like, you are nothing to me, means nothing. You know, he did that same thing. He does it to everybody he talks to. He did it to Stephanie Rose too. You know, they had that, I forgot what the discussion was, but she was on some panel, Zoom panel with him. Or no, I think they were face to face. Anyway, I wish I could remember exactly what it was. Maybe somebody on our live stream. By the way, we're live streaming on our Facebook, on the Just Cause Facebook page. You can tune in there. But yeah, you know, just like she was nobody. We just talked about the research committee that gathered all the information on the CSPD. Like they're nobody, and they were led by a senior professor at CC. Professor.
Well, maybe she's not a senior professor, but she is a professor.
Oh, okay, my bad. What's Rojo? I can't think of her first name. Rojo. And anyway, she it was fantastically put together. Anyway. You're nothing to me. You know what I'm saying?
These kids that put all this hard work, you could tell they put so much time and effort and hard work into it, and he's all,
Like legit stuff, man. So anyway, and that is still real information and good information, and is like we need to continue to use what they put together for us. But anyway, or for him to fix his department. You know what I'm saying? So anyway,
so LETAC is definitely the dunce of the week this
week
because they're just complete and total garbage. You're right. They should just be part of the police union because they're basically PR.
Right. Yep. And it's
for the cops.
For the cops to say, and they're there to fill in a space. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Exactly as we all knew.
Yeah. Window dressing.
And and again, that's not every individual on that thing because you know there are people on that board that I know and respect, but I just know that they're not enough, and they're not going to be
as a
able
commission,
to,
exactly.
Right.
Like
they're not going to be able to move that whole thing around, and the best thing for any ally in there is probably just to sit low and just, you know, like, I don't know, maybe not, I don't know.
I mean, if people were actually willing to like stand up on their tables and chairs and shout during these meetings, maybe it could turn into something else. But if they're not willing to do that, then it's going to be exactly what it was designed to be.
And they're appointed. They're appointed for like I think most of them are only 1 year. And then it's like
because the first year
that's
is
another
different.
thing, weirdly put together that some of them are there for 3 years. Like they got weird ways.
Right, it's so that they can have like they don't all switch over at the same time. You know?
Whatever, man. Anyway,
but so that was like just it was an unbelievable because it was worse than I ever expected that to be. I expected at least some people would like get up there and pretend like they were holding the police accountable, and the police would be like, "Oh no," and then they would just go do what they wanted to do. But this it was just like it wasn't even that.
Yeah. Anyway, man, there's no good that's gonna come out of that. Not for the people anyway, and especially when he says, "I'm gonna go ask for more."
Yeah.
And and the reason they're gonna use the population growing or whatnot, but the crime isn't. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
I don't understand this.
And part of it too is that Colorado Springs, and this is Southern. Colorado Springs is a sprawling, massive city. Like it's the second largest geographically city in the country.
Yeah.
And so, we have longer. Times for the cops to show up for things because the city is so enormous, and John Suthers supports that.
Right,
he wants that massive sprawling growth.
Yeah,
and I'm like, well, you can't have both.
Right,
if you want sprawling growth, then you can't have that much money for cops.
Right,
and like there's so many like studies too that show like communities that are like more closely packed together and things like this are better at policing themselves, so you don't need police. But the reason you have police departments like the Colorado Springs Police Department and like the LA Police Department back in the 90s is because you can't really have even like the old school community policing where the cops walk the beat like, swinging their stick or whatever.
Right.
Because they have to drive their cars, and I know they don't have a helicopter in Colorado Springs anymore, but fly their helicopters. It's not rooted in the community whatsoever. It's basically an occupying force. And that's that's what the LA Police Department created in the 90s, was this notion of police as a militarized occupying force within neighborhoods of color.
To protect the capitalist
stuff. Exactly.
Right.
And I'm not saying like cops were perfect before that, but they've just gotten worse, since the 1980s, basically. They've just gotten worse and worse.
Just to have the ability to rethink what policing is and what its real need is and how we can put it into our city, man. And not being able to say abolition is the best way right now. Just blow it all the hell up, the whole thing, and fix it. Then wherever, because listen, I believe that there's crime. I believe that needs to, we need people to be handled. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there are people that are antisocial.
Right. Yeah. Right. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. In my lifetime, I've never called the police because I was scared of something. You know what I'm saying? It's just not something that we do. At never one time have done that. Now, I've been forced to call the police because for like a homeless guy. Just a couple months ago, it was cold outside, and he was like incapacitated on the corner of the street. I didn't know what to do with him. You know what I'm saying? So my best thing to do was to call him, but here's the thing. So just a little kudos for the person. I said, hey, there's no reason to send a cop. He needs an ambulance. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't send the police over here. And they didn't. They just sent the ambulance, and it was cool. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I had to call 911.
But I think that points out exactly the problem, because the system that they've created has made it so there are no other options. You have to call the police. And that's why when people talk about abolition, it's like, we don't create abolition with the existing society that we have today, right?
No.
We can't do that. If we were to just get rid of all the cops, but still have alienated capitalism, it would be a horrible society.
Exactly.
But we spend so much money on cops that if we started there and started redirecting that money from the police department to start create those new institutions that we need, so we don't need the cops, that's where we at least need to start and start working towards the thing is, everybody wants a society without cops. Ideally, everybody should want a society without cops.
Nobody wants cops roaming around, strolling through their stuff, looking for a crime that they broke.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what we should be working towards.
Because then then you plant the seed, right? Because then there's existing programs that could be turned into the alternative for mental health, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
Or whatever. There's things that could be turned into. All of these things are there, and they just are broke. You know what I'm saying? They don't have any money. So, duh. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We do actually have the money. It's Colorado Springs.
Yeah, exactly.
We have the money, and it's right there, and we could just shift it on over there and let them do their thing with it. You know what I'm saying?
And the thing is, police budgets have just grown and grown and grown over the last 40 years. Since that big, we had the big crime wave in the 1970s, and then the big crime wave in the 1990s. And since then, since the 1990s, that big crime bill, police budgets have just ballooned and ballooned and ballooned.
I was just
the crime has gone down and down and down. Regardless of crime going down, they keep giving cops more and more money.
Right. Yeah. It's there's what's that word called when they got the shell company and the money's going over here, but it's really for this. Because what they're doing is creating a budget for their paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it is.
That,
they're just getting more money for themselves.
For them to be able to do whatever they do. You know what I'm saying? And legally on top of that. So when you talk about being able to put money that is being wasted to something that is that I don't know, a service that's being wasted, that's not being fed the dollars that it should have, it's proven when you put more cops, there's more crime. Literally, the police presence creates the crime. You know what I'm saying? So what you just said was in the 70s, there was a big crime wave. There was probably a big boost in hiring of cops. And in the 90s, there was a big boost in cops. It was, the thing that all the cities was doing. So, of course, there was more whatever being recorded. I was watching this documentary about this cop in Boston. And, he was this big, decorated, celebrated guy. And unfortunately, he ended up getting killed. But, though, before this, he was the most highly sued police officer in the department with complaints after complaints after complaints. There was a complaint in there that he would use the same evidence for people when he went to court. So he had this manila folder, and it would come in and just give the same evidence for all the arrests that he had. And then they called him Plain Sight Mulligan, because his name was Mulligan, and he said everything
sounds like a Boston cop to me.
Yep. And his name, he said everything was in plain sight, because if it was in plain sight, then you didn't have to write a report, you just saw it there. So they don't hide nothing. They just everything's in plain sight, and they celebrated him for that. It was a good nickname for him.
Yeah, geez.
Yeah, man. That's the cops.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that's
exactly.
what the money feeding all of our tax dollars into them feed and bills. It makes them feel like they're different from the rest of us, and the rest of the world. You know what I mean?
Well, I had an experience with was he a Boston cop or a statey? I don't remember. Out in Boston, we were marching on May Day, and an ambulance came through, and we had a big march. There was several thousand people, and we all stopped and pulled over off the side of the road so the ambulance could get through. Mm-hmm. And this cop on this motorcycle comes over, and thanks me for getting out of the road. I'm yeah, okay, dude, whatever. And whatever. I was fuck you too. I mean, that's you too. So he comes back and he's like, he pulls it into our march with his motorcycle, like cuts me off, so I can't move, and starts yelling at me about how he's my ally. Hey, listen, man, I don't know, blah, 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 blah. I'm on the same side as you, blah, 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 blah. And I'm all,
Lord.
that's how a cop that's your that sees himself as your ally acts towards you.
Yeah.
He comes and cuts you off with his motorcycle and starts screaming in your face about how he's on the same side as you.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Because that's just their attitude.
That's their attitude. Like, man, I'm here to help you, man.
I'm here to help you.
And just to make
Accept
sense.
my help.
Right. And you know, here's the thing, man. Like, I recognize, yes, I believe that you think you're there to help me, man. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you are in this indoctrinated world that tells you that that's what you're there to do. And like all of the research that you can just ignore, like Niski does, everything that you can just not pay any attention, that you can flat out ignore. Right here, you know, there's a protest going on, dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what are you talking about?
Like it's a crazy
it's
thing.
asinine on the face of it, just to even think that you're doing something proper for the people. You know, being a cop. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't make any sense to me, man. And even now, especially, you know what I'm saying? Now, especially, I wonder. I don't know. I wonder how hard it is for them to find like cops. You know, people of color.
Well, I've noticed that, you know, there's like a big billboard off I-25 now that's like CSPD is hiring. I'm like, I don't think it's going to be very easy to hire people right now. And supposedly there's a lot more turnover in the police departments right now.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, good, figure something else out, guys.
It's hard for them to keep them there. I have heard this, man. You know, and also, you know, the ways to just put stress on them that way. You know, so listen, when these police come in contact with you, they're walking. Talk about a thin blue line. They're walking a very thin line on your civil rights. You know what I'm saying? And if you understand exactly what they are, and I'm not even saying this to be combative with them. Like, all they have to do is do it, and that's it. Like, you don't even have to be upset that they did it, but you can sue them for that. You know what I'm saying? And some of these lawsuits can come. You can just file the paperwork on your own. You know, and you don't need a lawyer to do some of these things that are just
or the ACLU
or the ACLU. All of these things, right? And the more that they have, that they got to defend these ticky tack. Oh man, you did this. Oh, you did that. Now there's even more.
Start rethinking what
what they're doing, and now it's costing them money. And the city's like, hold on now, because that's not coming out of the police budget. You know, well, maybe it is. I don't know. How does that work? I think it goes.
A lot of these come out of the. Well, it depends on, I guess, what type of lawsuit it is, right?
Right.
But a lot of it just comes out of the ends up coming out of the general fund in the end because the police are having to pay out in these lawsuits.
Exactly, because and there's probably, we can't pay for it because they got a way to ask the city for more money on the slide on the back end, you know.
Well,
and they got to pay lawyers, you know,
exactly.
to defend all of these things. And they're not cheap, you know what I mean? So the more of them that they have, the more of them that they have to defend, the more money they got to pay. And it's like, wait a minute. So, you know, I tell folks about this stuff in Minnesota when they disbanded the police department.
Right. Well, they tried, then they couldn't quite do it.
It didn't really, because, what happened was they got it figured out. They got their insurance figured out to where they didn't have to, you know, completely, you know, shut it down or whatnot.
Oh, okay.
But they lost their insurance policy, and so they had to get it figured out. So I guess that's what ended up happening.
Oh, okay.
And there's probably some rich billionaire that was like, oh, here, bless you, child.
Like always.
You know what I'm saying?
Which actually brings us up to what have we learned over the 6 months? This is a perfect segue because this is one of the things that I've realized over the last 6 months, and maybe it was already there, but I remember you talking about this months and months and months ago, like, we need to start making this have a cost for them.
Right.
So the uprisings that started at the end of May and went through June, like, clearly we didn't create enough of a cost in Colorado Springs because they're just like, still operating the exact same way. We're going to ask for more money for cops. Like,
tell you to your face, too.
Yeah, exactly. Like, really insulting. So, like, the one thing that I think we need to have learned from this is, like, unless the cops feel the pain, unless they feel there's an actual threat to, like, their department, they're not going to change.
No, there's no reason to.
Yeah, they have absolutely no reason to.
Yeah.
In Minneapolis, when that police precinct burned down, they're like,
It's a lot right there,
We should,
man.
we should
Hold on.
probably change. We
Yeah,
should
like
probably do something.
what makes these people do that, right?
Yeah,
there?
exactly.
Yeah.
And in New York City, when they occupied the front of the city hall for like a month, and they got $1 billion taken from the police department.
Right.
You know, like you have to create a situation where they are feeling the pain.
Yeah.
You have to create enough like arrests to where they drop charges.
Right.
So I was just reading an article that like thousands and thousands and thousands of these protest arrests, or these people that were arrested for protests over the summer, are having their charges dropped because basically the system can't deal with it.
Right. It's overloaded.
So like in Colorado Springs, there weren't enough arrests actually to really overload the system. Like maybe a little bit, but not really. You know, some of these places like Louisville, they arrest like 800 people or something like this, which just overwhelmed the system.
Yeah.
But what that did is it started creating cracks in the system that they just couldn't deal with. It was breaking the system, which is exactly what you have to do.
Right.
You can't just ask politely.
No.
It's never been about asking politely.
Exactly. You know, it's a business, right, man? I mean, you know, they say, if you say that about Walmart, you know, you could go stand in front of Walmart and say whatever you want and do whatever you want, but they're not going to change that until that whole store, 2 whole stores are like not operating. You know what I'm saying? Then all of a sudden, we'll take the guns and the ammo out.
Yeah, exactly. They don't just like, they don't have some moral change. And here's the thing, it's not because they're evil people. There are evil people out there, but it's not because everybody in the city leadership or everybody in the Walmart leadership are evil.
Yeah.
It's because, like we said, once they become that collective, once they become CEOs and board members of Walmart, they're not thinking about themselves as individuals. Like, obviously they're thinking about their enrichment, but there are actual charters to these things that say, you know, Walmart has to protect the interests of its stock owners. It has its mission is to create profit. And so, like, even if some of the people, you know, like Richard Scorman or Yolanda Avila is like, man, I feel really bad that we're giving so much money to the police and we blah, blah, blah. It doesn't mean anything because they don't have the power to really change anything, right? Unless they really, I mean, they have some power, obviously. They probably could be doing more than they are doing. They could be standing up on the chairs, around the tables, and saying, "We're going to stop this."
They didn't care about their own power and their own standing inside these institutions. Then you know, like a cat like me, I would be in there like, oh, what? No, how about we don't even have this meeting? Hang up the phone on them. We're not even gonna do this. Right, just like they did to me. Yeah, exactly, man. Like, hang all of this up. So, or something, you know. Anyway, or a mixture of all of those things, you know what I'm saying? Because you're right, that they're not, I don't believe they're bad people, but there's people that'll, in our city council, that'll say, the best way for government to move is slow.
Right, yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, no, wait a minute. Actually, that's
anyway.
The dumbest thing I ever heard, and you're not right about that. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, you know,
that was Jill Gabler, by the way. Just so all our listeners know.
Yeah,
Jill Gabler said that stupid thing.
The ridiculousness, man, and like said it with confidence too, while she was ignoring everything that was being said by all of these people.
But she's also the person that put a Black Lives Matter sign in her yard, and then next to the Black Lives Matter sign, a "Thank you, Colorado Springs Police Department."
Oh gosh, because we could do both. Because we can do both. I mean, that's what it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what happens when you ride the fence? Your feet slip off and you get racked.
Right.
That's what happens. It hurts.
Right.
It's pain, and then you fall to one side or the other.
Right. If we were just on the podcast, I'd have made a joke about that right now. But Miss Rita would have been like, "Boys." Yeah, man. But so you can't do this thing. I mean, I guess you can, and if we allow them, they will, and they have been, right? And it turns into the 4th district having 16 years less life expectancy than any other district in the city when you just let them do whatever they want. You know, for the longest time, I don't know about this election. I can't remember what I looked this stuff up at one time. But anyway, just recently. But you know, the 4th district only have 40% voter turnout.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or was it the other way around? Yeah, 40% voter turnout. So
before,
you know, it's like when they don't have to worry about it, they're not going to. When they can just ignore it, they will.
Their feet aren't at the fire.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So we need to make sure the reason why. What did we learn this past 6 months and past year? You know, of 2020, and you know, a little bit of 19 there. is important because we have to see how, are they gonna, is this thing changing? Is the money coming over this way? Are they fixing this stuff? You know what I'm saying? Is this just gentrification or what is it? You know what I'm saying? Like the tenants unions growing, the community organizations that are coming out of the South Side that are popping. And I mean, there's a lot of things that are happening here that I've never seen before. And I was born and raised here, man, and I've never, I've always heard of the Promised Lees and the June Wallers, and there's a whole long list. I've always heard of these people, but it was just them. It was just that, like,
totally. How much can an individual really do? Like they can work really hard, but
yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? It was just that one thing. So, but now it's like when you talk about the South Side, are you talking about the Alliance, or are you talking about
this group or that
who
group?
Who are you talking about? Who is these people? Like, which group is that? So and they're all within, with the exception of Caitland Community Cares and One Body, I think they're all inside of their first year right now. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these groups are. So just imagine, like, seeing what it will be. I don't know, man. It feels great. It feels good to know that they're not going to be able to ignore this for much longer.
So this is another thing I just put down, like, what have I learned? Colorado Springs will actually show up. A lot of growing up in Colorado Springs, it was like, Colorado Springs sucks or whatever. And those Keep Colorado Springs Lame bumper stickers and stuff, like, like that was people's attitude here with Colorado Springs. Like, nothing good ever happens here, nothing's ever going to change, it's conservative, blah, 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 blah. But Colorado Springs really showed up.
Yeah, they did, man.
In the end of May and beginning of June. I mean, it wasn't like we saw in other places, but it was like pretty incredible here. Stuff that I never thought I would see in Colorado Springs, and it was fairly spontaneous.
Yeah, like I didn't know. I didn't recognize that we even had that capability. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh man, when the curfew happened, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, like you know me. I was like, oh no. Yeah. I'm going out there, bro, and it was just like, oh, dang, there's other people that's like, no.
Several hundred other people.
A bunch of us, man. So, and then another thing that I remember distinctly was being in Pueblo for the statue removal stuff that they got down there, and gosh, man, again, to talk about something that we watched happen right in front of our face, man. So, it was a big push with the BLM stuff and a big, just huge thing with, I guess it was the George Floyd, was it before that?
The Columbus statue?
Yeah.
No, it was after that, because that kind of like sprang out of all the
it kind of came from all that same kind of vibe that
people
we was
we're tired of this,
right.
How things have historically been.
Yeah, so we went down there, man, and it went down. And then we went down 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And then the second week we went, I mean, it was like, there was people with guns walking around in groups.
Right.
Like the police had no idea who to watch and where they was at. It was all over downtown down there.
We had created our own autonomous, created our own security systems, created our, it was like
that
our
statue
space.
was coming down, bro.
Yep.
It was coming down. So, and I mean, it was like complete control. It felt good. It was a good vibe. And what do you know? The police got into into one of these groups here, and they created dissension amongst, some like the group that had been there and been established been working with the police nicely this whole time, type of deal. And that was it. We never went back down there with it.
And
what I'm saying?
The momentum really died, and the statue's still there. And
still
I can say that I hadn't thought about, like, what did we learn from Pueblo? One thing we learned is that, there was like a lot of energy around that in Pueblo and a lot of different groups, but then some of the groups got scared of the militancy or the radicalism or
what
whatever.
It actually took to scare them and shake them up down there in Pueblo, because again, like, that's something I never saw. I know they never saw that in Pueblo.
No,
I know the Gratishar was down there like, oh my God.
That day the police didn't have control. That first day, it's like the police didn't have control over it.
Right.
Like people were getting de-arrested, and it's like, they couldn't do anything about it.
Right, yep. Like, they were trying to take, that is right, man. They tried to take him, and we was snatching him back from the police. Like, man, back. Yeah, man, it was great, man. It was hot out there. It was like 90 degrees. People were still out there. I don't know if I think they're still doing it. It might be, you know, past the months that they planned on that going for, but they stuck with it for a long time, man. And hopefully, you know,
the statue needs to come down.
It needs to come down, dog. Like, I don't care whatever it is, man. Get it figured out. And, you know, it's hard to. That's another thing that I learned about going to other people's city and telling them what they need to be doing and what you think about what they got going on. You know, it's kind of different when there's when there's a activist group in this place. You know, you got to just go with what they're thinking. Totally. I mean, it's not even really if then. You still got to go with what the people there are talking about and what the real issues are. So anyway,
you know, this is a great question because I've always thought, you know, there's always we've talked about busloads of Antifa a lot, you know, as a joke, but I think it's a great discussion to have because I always talk about, you know, when you're in somebody else's town or even at somebody else's event that you didn't organize, you kind of follow that leadership, the community leadership and everything. You know, you don't want to like come in and take over, but just like we talked about though, like, but some of those long-standing community members that have, you know, like high status or whatever, maybe not high status, but they have, you know, they're integrated into the system a little bit more. Yeah. They might be easier to co-opt, right? And I think that's what we saw in Pueblo is that like the city leadership was able to create divisions among activist group, and they were basically like, you know, we don't want Colorado Springs Black Lives Matter protests to come down anymore. Right. Which was like, what, really? Right. You know, it's like, wow, we were really like down here to help. Right.
Yeah, and they felt like they could do it themselves or whatnot, which, listen, they can. They can, you know, and they will. I know a lot of the people, and I believe that they will. But for them, and this is just speaking on Pueblo, for them, the organization was needed. You know, that kind of, oh, we can do this, guys, and everybody kind of looking at each other that happened down there. You know, like them too, they had a bunch of groups that sprung up. Some of them were kind of off. Some of them were, you know, they got it figured out, but they don't, you know, whatever is happening, there's little things happening. But it's happening, you know what I'm saying? So, and it's outside of that established group that the police have groomed and bred to be the one that speaks for the people. You know what I'm saying? So, again, I think that worked. But being able to go down and mentor them, you know, because you know, we went down there a few times to help bail people out or whatnot. And we got a chance to talk to them and say, hey, what was this about, and why are you thinking this? And it made complete sense, you know, because, for instance, I had no idea about this Italian mafia thing that they got down. I had no idea about the history of this stuff down there. So they were like, yeah, bro, you know what I'm saying?
That's a real thing here.
They will pull up on you. And I'm like, who, where? Like, that's where I want to, that's, you know what I'm saying?
Like old school democratic machine city in that way, like still had a white ethnic identity, politics, and things like this. Like,
that's crazy to me, man. But anyway, so
it feels like an East Coast town.
I'm still down for that because you know, that's ridiculous, man. And again, all of that was through oppressing, you know, native people down there, you know. And anyway, whatever type of anything it is, it's just ridiculous how it goes. And you can see the split, you know, Pueblo West and Pueblo and North. It's completely different part of whatever's going on, man. And I don't, you know, anyway. But yeah, man. So, hey, man, let's get to some music, man.
Yeah, let's take a little break. We'll come back and talk about what else we've learned.
Yeah, what's
also, Pueblo folks, if we're totally off base, let us know. But I don't know. I feel like that's something we saw happen in there, you know?
Yeah, for sure. No, we
Well, you know, I lived in Pueblo for a few years, so I can talk about it.
Yeah, me too. All right, man, here we go. We'll be back.
Oh, William, yeah, so people weren't able to get into the town hall. I think that's a great point. I mean, I think we should talk about this when we talk about COVID. COVID has been a blessing to people in power. You know?
Oh, yeah, because they're like, we can't, because of COVID. You've been saying that.
Yeah, I know, totally. This is just gonna be a thing that I'm gonna harp on for a while.
Right, yeah.
Like, you can't mob up in City Hall because COVID.
Bump all that. Now, I think, you know, we got to pay attention to the numbers and things. Like right now, this lockdown, whatever it's calling it now.
Well, we're not locked down.
No, I don't know what it is. I mean, it feels like, because I saw Denver put their restaurants down, like you got at 8 o'clock. It's here too, I think. 8 o'clock, they got to shut down at 8 o'clock. Restaurants, that's even the curbside delivery. I think so. I saw it on the news today.
I haven't. Yeah.
Now hold on, wait a minute.
I've been working too hard preparing the show.
Maybe what I saw was they were reporting on what happened in Denver.
Oh, okay.
Denver for sure, because I saw the mayor talking about it. So maybe they were reporting on what happened in
But
Denver.
it needs to happen in El Paso County.
I think so too, man. Like, dude, can we just look? Hey, 3 months. I don't know how long.
I don't even think we need 3
man.
months. Like, honestly, I don't even think we need to lock down for 3 months.
I don't even know how long. Whatever the distance is,
It takes
do that
three.
shit.
It takes like 2 weeks for the virus to sort of like run through your body. It seems like.
Yeah.
So if we lock down for 3 weeks, if we locked down for 3 weeks, it would be fine.
No, I think it's longer than that, man.
No, I think,
we
if
gotta,
you know, like a real lockdown.
like,
None of this half lockdown like we
like
did
all
before.
the stores,
Like
everything.
no
shut it
stores. Just be like, everybody, make sure you go get the. We'll have another run on toilet paper.
down. Right.
But I guess it's already started again. But like,
Yeah,
get
like
everything
Walmart.
you need.
No, for real, Walmart. You can't. No, bruh. You
There's
can't
no
put all
toilet
these
paper.
people in there. Yeah, like you can't let all these people in that damn store. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Just like take care of what you need first,
Yeah.
and then
It's gonna be cold outside. People ain't gonna be wanting to stand in line.
Yeah, so
like,
it's-
they'll stand in line because they with the stuff they need.
But then the government needs to pass an actual stimulus where it's like, look, I know you can't go to work for 3 weeks, so we got you. We're gonna send everybody $3,000
Yeah.
to take care of you for those 3 weeks.
Right.
You know, whatever. A lot of people will also still get their paychecks. A lot of people that can work from home, but for those people who can't, and then we need to like say like, look, nobody needs to pay rent for 3 months. And nobody's gonna come back after you for those 3 months of back rent.
Just leave it alone.
Yeah, exactly. Like if the entire country decided to do these things, we could actually fix it. But the United States just doesn't do this anymore.
Right.
This is
It's
why
like,
we can't have a Green New Deal.
We got everybody has to get the same whatever. I don't know. All the rich people got to make their money first, and then we can figure out.
Yeah, and then exactly.
Where to go from there.
Yeah, that's exactly how
wait
things
a minute.
work
So
now.
we gotta. As long as people are making their money, then we can do this. America cannot shut its economy down.
Right.
Like, bro, yes, it can.
Yeah,
man.
and we can provide enough money for everybody. Everybody worries about the budget deficit, you know, and Republicans used to always worry about the budget deficit, but it doesn't affect us in any way.
It's like a fake number anyway.
It's completely fake.
Yeah.
Like, really what you need to worry about is having people that are alive to have an economy. That's more important than your budget deficit.
You might want to worry about having a living
Alive
society.
citizens, yeah. Like, that's going to be a much bigger deal than your budget deficit.
Man, they can actually make the money back that you just printed up for no reason.
And like they can go back to work and blah,
Right,
blah, blah, blah.
right.
Well, actually, yeah, Sam's pointing out that like this whole 25% capacity, that's ridiculous. You
Right,
can't
like,
actually
why?
make money off of 25%
Right.
capacity.
Yeah.
It's just a ridiculous half measure. But that's all the United States knows how to do now is just like half measure.
Right.
We'll half measure this, half measure that. And that's why everything sucks. You know, like
No.
that's why it seems like things are getting worse.
I mean, it feels like the restaurants and stuff are adapting to this thing fairly well. And it's like, what the fuck? Why is restaurants all of a sudden our end all make
Yeah,
be all
right.
What the hell is
Yeah,
this
exactly.
business about? Local restaurants being it's the
Like,
only
we can't
focus
hurt
point.
local restaurants.
Yeah, it's like, man, what the hell is that, man?
Yeah.
I don't understand. It
That's a
doesn't
great
make any
point.
sense.
There's
to me.
a lot of
who
other
fucking
businesses
cares?
out
Like
there.
restaurants fold up
Day
and like a
in, day out.
90% rate,
Yeah.
bro. Like
Yeah.
who now all of a sudden we care about?
Well,
this
yeah,
and
like
there's this,
Republicans
like,
are always
man,
talking
shut
about
up.
like, oh, that's just the market. Well,
Right, and then
COVID's part of the market.
The restaurants are the one wasting all the damn food.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying?
Yeah,
They're
they
the
throw
one
out so much
wasting
food.
shit, man. Like, who cares about these restaurants making it or not, man? Like, look, I got good friends that run restaurants
Oh,
right
you
here in
ran
this
a
city.
restaurant.
Too. I had a restaurant, dude. That shit is not more important than this shit. I'm sorry, man. Like, look. We just gotta get it together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Once it's over with or whatever. But like, or do whatever. But man, anyway.
And this is like you said, this is just gonna hurt them too. It's not like this slow rolling crisis is bad for everybody, including restaurants. Like if we just ripped the Band-Aid off quickly.
Yeah, it's not playing.
How many people out there went to In-N-Out Burger yesterday? Did you go to In-N-Out Burger yesterday?
Hell no.
I've never been to an In-N-Out Burger
I'm
in my
gonna go,
life.
but I'm gonna wait until next month or so. That line's gonna be stupid every day. Or what time? Whatever the operating hours are. I think they're only paying their employees 10 something an hour.
Oh, really? Wait, that's below minimum wage. They can't do that.
Oh,
If that's the case, let us know.
maybe I'm tripping. Was it 11?
We'll be up in
what's
there.
minimum wage? 12.
12 now, yeah. Although it's
Oh.
going up. Minimum wage is going to go up.
Oh,
again
maybe
in
I
the
saw a
new year.
sign. It was like, I don't know. Maybe it was 12.50.
Oh, okay. Man, I gotta say though, my first minimum wage job. You know what minimum wage was when I got my first job?
Minus 7.
$4.25.
Oh, I think it
Or
was.
$4.35, I think
I
maybe.
think it was 4.25 when I was working at I worked at Carl's Jr.
Oh, really?
No,
No. Hardee's.
Hardee's.
Before
Worked
it
at
was
Hardee's.
Carl's
Yeah,
Jr.
It was down there by Circle and I-25.
Okay.
Right
Okay.
across the
Yeah.
street
Yeah.
from
Okay.
the
Yeah.
Red
Totally.
Line, yeah,
Yep.
from the hotel.
I worked at Pizza Hut off Fillmore and Wood.
Fillmore. Oh, I don't know where Wood is.
It's like down there, you know, where it's like just east of I-20. Not a great neighborhood.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that was too far. That's up north, man. We didn't go that far. We
Fillmore's-
didn't pass Constitution, man.
Didn't go up to Fillmore, huh?
No, we didn't go past Constitution, really. The only time we would was to go to the club. That was it.
What
because
club?
I think the function was up there, like up off of Vickers.
Oh,
That
okay.
was like way up there, bro.
Yeah.
Like we went in groups.
I would still do that, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, nah,
I mean, that's where
it's too
Van
far.
Lant lives up there in that
Oh,
area.
yeah, it's
Wait, is it
dangerous
Vic-
up there.
I grew up in like Union Academy, so not that far from that part of town.
Yeah, yeah.
And I cannot keep Union and Vickers, Vickers and Dublin straight for the life of me.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
confuse them all the time.
Yeah, me too.
We even had a protest
I
up
didn't
there
even know
once.
where
I couldn't tell
Dublin
you
was.
where it was, if it was Dublin or Vickers. 3 people got arrested up there. I don't know if it was Union or Vickers. Sam, help me out. Was it Union? Or I'm sorry, was it
Dublin.
Dublin or Vickers?
Yeah, I don't even. Man, where's Dublin at? Oh yeah, I know where it's at.
No, our live feed went down. I think the internet is down. I'm gonna
I
go
can
tell
hear
them
it.
the internet's down.
Hey,
We're
you
learning.
learn.
What's our final lesson that we learned from the Black Lives Matter uprisings this summer? What do you
The
think,
final
Shaun?
one.
What's the big lesson that came out of that?
I think the real thing is that you can't. What I learned is that you can't make a group of people do something for no reason. Like you can't install a reason for people to act and move. You know what I'm saying?
Right. There has to be something that they feel.
Right, that they feel. It has to be based off of something that's real. You know what I'm saying? And when like there are real things in the community that you can hit, and there are fake things that you can
Right.
make up. And we saw all from one extreme to the
Right,
other. You know
right.
what I'm saying with this stuff. So yeah, man, I learned that the people are the realest thing on earth.
Right. That's also crazy though, because after Devon Bailey was killed, we tried mobilizing a lot of people pretty regularly, and it was just really hard to get people mobilized for things.
Yeah,
And yet, this thing that happened in Minneapolis got people mobilized.
turned it up.
And
Yeah,
so I
turned it
think
up.
actually that as I'm speaking, I'm realizing a lesson from that. Working off what you were talking about, I think people need to feel like what they're doing is effective. What they're doing is actually going to lead to something, right?
Right.
They need to feel like when they go out into the streets, and take somewhat risky action. I mean, we know some people are facing serious charges for this, that it means something, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because, like, I'm sure a lot of people in Colorado, well, I was surprised how many people in Colorado Springs hadn't heard about Devon Bailey's
I know,
death.
right here in the city.
Yeah.
they hear about it. Yeah,
But
that's
I
crazy.
think it was also like that sense of like, you know what, this is a huge thing that's happening. I want to become part of this big thing, this big historic thing that's happening.
Right.
And I think that is important, is like you want to feel like you're part of that and like
Right.
that it's going to be effective. Because if you're just like 10 people out in the streets,
It's not the same thing.
it doesn't feel the same.
Yeah.
Totally.
On the flip side of that same coin, you kind of saw folks say, "Hey, I don't need that huge group of people. Like, we're gonna go and I'm just gonna do what I want and do what we feel like is the right thing right now." I don't know if these groups want me to say their names or not. Maybe I won't say their names, but just actions that they're taking, or like they don't want to be known as a group with a name in particular. They don't want to, to all of their actions to be based around the same thing, But then there are groups that's like picture, everybody.
It's all about
picture,
me and my group.
Picture.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like, all of it. And another, I guess something else is, downgrading people's activism and, you know, making it seem as though, oh, you're messing up because I don't agree with what you're doing, or that's the wrong way to go about it. You know, I don't believe none of that. I believe that any pressure on these cops is good.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? And like, you know, as long as you're not talking to them, working with them, organizing with the police,
doing their bidding, basically,
doing it for them, then it's all good.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's I mean, maybe there's some bad that'll come out of it, but you know, whatever.
There's always going to be a little bit.
Yeah,
of that.
man. If we take 2 steps forward or 3 steps forward and have to take 1 back or whatever, cool, we game. You know what I'm saying? Like stay down. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man.
I think that's a good point too, because you know, like, I don't know if people have noticed this, but you and I talk a lot of ish, maybe, but is it not working? And we have criticisms of people's tactics sometimes and everything like this. But on the other hand, I'm like, if you're out there and you are doing that, giving that pressure, then it's all good.
Right.
Like, let's just do that. Like, and I know my politics. My politics are revolutionary. But, and I'll argue with reformists, but I also understand that there's a place for them in the movement and what we're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to try and like push them down.
Right,
and basically say, like, you can't do this, like, because there is a place for that. Like, there are all these different lanes that we can operate within. It's just that I feel like sometimes reformists are trying to push us out and say that you guys are illegitimate.
Right.
And that's why I get upset. But I think that's an important
I mean,
thing that we've talked about a lot.
Right,
too.
I mean, I guess, you know, and having that self-preservation, maybe that is the word too, but, you know, thinking ahead and being able to see that, you know what I mean? Like, everybody's not going to agree with what I do, you know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
I'm going to make sure I think ahead and pay it forward to, like, because I know that's not going to affect, you know, like, being an ill effect on this thing or whatnot.
And
so,
especially new activists, they don't know all this. Like,
right.
There's a lot of politics within movements. And if you're a new activist, you're like, well, what is all this? It feels very, like, people are denigrating you and, like maybe you shouldn't be out in the streets or whatever. And I think that did happen this year.
It
like,
did.
I think people felt like, oh, whatever, like,
yeah,
people are being critical of what I'm doing. I don't want to participate.
And I don't want to do it. Yeah, you know. And so one thing that I saw was that, you know, there were folks that were really, they wanted to help and they didn't know how to help, and then they just found a group and they came out there and they were like, oh, wait a minute, I don't want to do this, because they didn't get down with that, whoever that group was or whatnot. So, and I believe that is what really kind of sparked, you know, all of these different, offshoots of organizations that popped up and that started doing work on their own and creating their own lane. You know what I mean? And that's exactly, you know, I guess we kind of had to go through that as a city. You know what I'm saying? At that growing pain, we're like, I don't know who this dude is or who this girl is or who they are, who that person is. And I don't trust them. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, there's a level.
We were never like that.
Nah. I mean, you know what? I mean, I guess the main thing is, like, I know we're not breaking any laws or doing anything like where I got to worry about who I'm talking to about this stuff, except for if it's a literal cop that the cops are using the money that they're telling us that they need, you know, more of to send a cop into to listen to my conversation. Like, it's ridiculous.
Well,
and it just will make that's anyway, you know, it, like, that alone makes me want to go harder. And, like, I wish I would catch y'all doing that. You know what I'm saying? So, like, anyway, that's where I'm at with that thing. But I guess the bottom line is, like, it's all good. You know what I'm saying? The whole, there's not anything really bad about it. And then think about when there's nothing to really act on. Like, right now, you know, there's no real reason to be outside.
Like, there's no big mobilization.
Protesting. There's no mobilization happening. So now everybody's like, okay, what do I do? And guess what they're going to do? They're going to look to the people and try to figure out how they can help something, somewhere, somehow. You know what I mean?
So many mutual aid projects popping up. Speaking of mutual aid projects, don't forget to go get your sleeping bag and drop it off at the Chinook Center from 12 to 5.
Yeah, 2551 Airport Road number 107. It's on the corner of Airport and Circle in K-Land. And just drop it off, man. You don't got to do nothing much. Just bring it in there. We got a place set up for it already. For you to just drop them in there. We need it for the homeless community, man, and the houseless community.
If you can't find it, it's behind the Taco Star off of Circle.
Yeah,
For the
old school Southsiders, it's over there by the Dragon's Lair, man. Behind the old Dragon's Lair. That's the old stuff, man. I think you got to be at least 30 to remember the Dragon's Lair, man. But yeah, that's where they at, man. They need some sleeping bags. So please, man, go grab us some sleeping bags and bring them to the Chinook Center. Also, they got a clothes giveaway that's going on downtown. I saw it on the news today. The Story Coffee downtown has a program that's being ran by Casa and the Casa and Only Human on 418 South Weber Street. So I guess, 418 South Weber is where the Casa building is where you can take, they got clothes for days for kids. What they're doing is for teenagers, they got a free store. And
nice.
It's for kids that are in foster homes, and the teenagers, I guess what ends up happening is they get hand-me-downs at these foster homes, and the clothes don't fit or whatnot, and so Casa started up this free store for these kids to be able to go in and get clothes that match their personality and that fit them and things of this nature. So yeah, down at the Story Coffee downtown, you can take some clothes down there, man. I know a lot of people.
Right. Story is that little coffee cart thing that's in Acacia Park.
By Acacia Park, yeah. So
I didn't know about
they're
that.
over there collecting clothes now and tomorrow too, and they said that you can bring them all through the weekend too. So that's over at the 418 Weber Street downtown. Nice. So yeah, man. Anybody got clothes, man? For teenagers too, like they don't want baby clothes, they don't want old lady shawls and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like.
Because teenagers are also the most picky about their clothes.
Yeah. So hook them up, man. And they pointed out that the Bronco gear for the kids. They like the Bronco gear always goes fast over there. So you got Bronco gear
and Raider gear.
Man, no, don't take that. Don't do that, man. Don't do that, miss. Come on, guy. So anyway, man, what's the longest you ever waited for some food, man?
Waited for food?
Yeah, like waited in line for some food.
Man, I don't know. We used to drive down to like a different part of the state in Massachusetts to go to Red Robin.
Just Red Robin?
Yeah,
Red Robin.
They suck now, but
yeah, they had the
gourmet
burgers.
And they had good veggie burgers,
Yeah.
Because you could put a veggie patty on anything. So that was like an hour-and-a-half drive or something, and maybe not an hour-and-a-half because Massachusetts isn't that big. But like an hour drive down to Massachusetts.
Good, solid hour.
Yeah. There and back, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think it was in Plymouth.
Would you wait in line from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m.?
No.
For anything? Food, like, and I'm not talking about like it's gonna change your life good.
No, exactly. It's just a burger.
It's just a burger, bro.
No.
They waited in line, bro.
This is because people have nothing better in their lives that they think that a burger is that important.
Right.
Like you can get a burger at McDonald's.
Yeah, or at the house.
Or at the house, yeah. But if you want to go out,
yeah, now listen, man. In-N-Out is good, man. In-N-Out is good.
Maybe I don't know. I've never had it, so maybe I shouldn't be talking
about it.
But
the reason why it's good is the same reason why a Whopper is good to me. Like it's just like it's just a regular burger, like with fresh, lettuce, tomato, regular stuff on it. You know what I'm saying? So that's why. But then they got the little sauce or whatever that people like or whatnot. But there's nothing special about it, bro. But anyway, what I'm getting at is capitalism will turn our society into straight buffoons, bro.
Yes.
I mean, straight. We already talked about toilet paper.
Yeah.
We brought it up. Like, just into straight idiotic masses.
Because this is a brand.
Right. And it's just like, come on, y'all. So anyway, look, I'm not saying that because obviously the chances that somebody listening to this was one of the people in that line. I'm not talking stuff to you,
You're
man.
a fool.
I'm not calling you a fool, man. I'm just saying that capitalism will do this, man. So, okay, hey, you got what you were looking for, and it happened, and it's great. You know what I'm saying? But the effects of this thing is just that the people that put that there feel so powerful that they feel like, they can move laws around so that they can put their store in that place.
Yeah,
they feel like they can't skirt the line of the minimum wage, and workers' rights. They feel like they can do these things and implement little stuff inside a contract that they give to a kid to sign that they're making money off of that's taken out of that kid's pocket or whatever, or that's not putting into their pocket what they could be getting from that profit that they're creating.
Well, I don't quite remember if this is right, but I think that was also like government subsidized area. So like In-N-Out Burger, what do they need a government subsidy for?
Right.
Like what on earth? And this
because
is
it's important. It's COVID, man.
Right, yeah,
It's
yeah.
COVID.
But this predates COVID.
Oh,
Like,
well,
they made plans for this, like, years ago.
Thank goodness that
Yeah.
they did it, because
Yeah.
look at COVID now.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, man, I'm not,
This
I'm
is
not
that
hating
false
on.
scarcity that capitalism creates, though.
Right.
There's no shortness of burgers.
Yeah.
And so In-N-Out Burger has to create this sense that there's something different and special.
Yeah.
And that, like, the only place you can get them is in the, Southwest.
Yeah, the homie Olivia on Facebook, she says, Drifters is better than
I've never been there. I'll have to check them
In-N-Out, man. And Drifters, it's off of.
It's up there. There's one in
Fillmore?
Garden of the Gods, I know, but
Oh yeah, Garden of the Gods on the west side of the freeway though.
yeah.
Yeah, so she said that Drifters is better, and it's been there. The line ain't
yeah,
no line.
people love that place too. So
Yeah,
I don't know
like
what
it.
you guys.
It's good too. I think it's compared to, you know what I'm saying, it's pretty dope. It's good. I think that the best burger spot that's not here anymore is Hamburger Stand, man. You remember?
Wait, is Hamburger Stand was that the one that was on Circle and
Platt.
Platt?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and is
No.
yeah,
Was that
Circle
Hamburger
and
Stand?
Platt. Yeah, it was Hamburger Stand. It was like a little church building, like a little
Oh, yeah,
steeple
yeah,
building.
yeah.
It's still something. It's a taco shop now.
Yeah.
But
Everything
anyway.
in Colorado Springs that has closed down is now a taco shop or a marijuana shop.
Right, because they both are ran by drug lords, so yeah, they got money for that.
Taco Star.
Right, yeah, man.
But
anyway, yeah. So and that's welcome here. Obviously, that stuff is welcome here.
Well, they feed each other.
No, right. Yeah, that's
Taco
true.
shops and meat shops.
Yeah, but I'm saying that Southern's. He doesn't mind that those businesses being like you can do that here. You know what I mean?
But not legal recreational.
Legal recreational weed. Yeah, man.
So what else did we learn about politics? And then we can get going. We've been going a while today, so.
Yeah. What did you learn?
What did I learn about politics?
Hold on. We're talking about what you learned. I said that from now on we're gonna address you as Dr. Smarty Pants. This guy.
But I'm not a doctor yet.
John's basically like a doctor, y'all. Just basically,
Little
Dr.
while
Dre
longer.
isn't a doctor either, though.
That's true. That's
Just
true.
so Dr. Smarty. No, I don't want to call you Smarty Pants though. That was Sam called you that.
Yeah.
It was like a poking fun at you. I think we're just gonna call you Dr. JC, man. That's it, Dr.
I'm
JC.
ruler of the world,
Yes.
Dr. JC.
But anyway, so congratulations, man, on your defense of your area paper, man.
Thank you.
So here's the thing that I'm really excited about is that one, I understand that just cause like we're smart people, you know what I'm saying, but dog, we got a doctor. Bro, you're a doctor. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody can tell us.
Well, I'm not a
almost
doctor
cuss,
yet.
man. Almost
I'm
cuss.
Dr.
Like, they
Casey.
will tell us nothing, man. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, like obviously these titles and stuff are, kind of don't mean things to you, but they do mean things to the rest
Oh,
of the world.
trust me, they mean something to me.
I know, and I was gonna say your accomplishment is what I know means something to you. So I'm proud of you, man, and I'm happy for you, and I can't wait to be able to say Dr. JC, like for real, without you saying I'm not a doctor yet. I'm gonna call him Dr. Smarty Pants until then.
Smarty Pants.
Yeah. So anyway, what did you learn, Smarty Pants?
Well, I learned from that situation that and I watched Sam do it, that the PhD process is painful and long and difficult.
Yeah.
And this is so I have to say, I'm going to grind a little axe here. This is what
Okay.
annoys me when people say they researched something.
Ah.
No, I've really researched something. Because they watched a couple YouTube videos.
Right.
And they
Do your research.
read it. I'm like, no, seriously, like, look at the bibliography of the paper I just had to do. It's like 70-something things. That,
Oh my
kind of,
God.
and then other people had to read over it and say, that's not good enough. You
Right.
need to fix this.
Yikes! But
They
they actually had to read it.
Yeah, and they I went through several revisions because they're like, no, that sucks, John. You need to fix this. And I was like, okay. And so I had to go through and fix it.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of doing actual research is it sucks.
Hell
and
yeah.
it's painful. And so like when people get online and they're like, I did research about this, and you're like,
No,
well, what
you
about this? And they're like, you can't tell me blah, blah, blah. And well, actually I can, because that's part of the whole research process is other people having like input.
Right. Yeah.
And what you
like
just
they got to
researched.
this peer study.
Yeah,
is that
peer to
what-
peer. Yeah,
peer
peer reviewed.
Peer reviewed. There
Yeah,
you go.
like that's part of the process.
Right.
So if I'm hard on you, that's because that's part of the process.
Exactly.
That's how
it
gain
gets to
more
the
knowledge.
Right.
You know what
we
I'm saying?
argue about what you think you know everything about.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because that's how we learn.
Right.
So
Well, I tell you what, man. There's something else I learned is that there's not very many people that can argue with you to win, man. they might call it narcissism or something like that, but I call it smarty pants.
I love arguing. I'm not gonna lie.
No, yeah, me too, man. I don't know what it. I think
you should actually see when Shaun and I get in arguments. It's not pretty.
Yeah, because you like to argue. I like being right.
right. That's a great point.
Yeah,
it's
man.
not like when Shaun and I get in arguments, it's like, and we both win.
You're like, well, all right, whatever, dude. Whatever, man. All right, man, hey, let's play some music, man. We got Guillotine coming up. Wait, hold on. Let's finish that Kevin Ross, man. Real Black, man. We'll be right back, huh?
All right. Okay, you're in Colorado Springs, but it was still hard to find people. I mean, there's a lot of people that just, like, it's hard to know what to do, too. Like, especially with a lot of the uprisings, I think a lot of people were like, is this, like, a revolutionary moment? Like, are things actually going to change, or are we just going to get, like, a small change? You know what I'm saying? And I think you had, I as a revolutionary am, like, trying to figure out how to make this, to make sure that we get, like, really structural changes out of this. But a lot of people were like, no, I'm perfectly happy with a LETAC. You know what I'm saying?
Who said that?
I
thought somebody said
no.
Oh.
I'm just imagining. You know what? I think the only people who are happy with LETAC are the people on it.
Right.
And maybe not even them fully.
Right. Like they just want to make sure they can put it on their resume somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And like 3/4 of the city council. I think those are the only people who are satisfied with LETAC.
Yeah.
And Niski. But I'll bet even the cops don't like it. I bet you Niski is like, man, look at me, just patting himself on the back.
Oh my God.
But even the rank and file cops, I bet, are like, we shouldn't be, there should be no oversight over us.
Right. Oh yeah. That's definitely what they want him to be saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Hey, I think that like what we got to remember is the stuff that we put into this movement, like we're not gonna get the results of it and see exactly what it turns into right now. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna take like some of these things, even things that we're planning with with the Chinook Center and with other organizations in the community. We're like, bro, I don't know. We're ever gonna see the end of that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
We keep our eyes on the horizon.
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
what you got to do.
What you have to do. Yeah, exactly. And just like hopefully, like the work is real enough and pure enough and solid enough that you pass it to the people and it never goes away. You know what I'm saying? If we all think that way, like, man, what is this that I'm doing right now? How am I going to be able to give this back to the people and they can have it and it's benefiting them?
Yeah, exactly.
If you're not doing that, then there's really, I'm not going to say no reason to be doing it, but, it's a little bit different, man. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, and again, like, I'm not talking about the things you're doing differently than what I'm doing or that John's doing, what that we're doing. I'm not saying that stuff. I'm just saying those things might not be getting you to your goal that you have set in your head. You know what I'm saying? And you got to be able to be agile and just, keep your, stay on a pivot so you can move on that stuff. Because you want to be effective. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to waste your time and your energy and it's taken from your family and whatever things that are going on in your life. All of these things are going to happen and you don't want to be wasting your time with it. So just make sure that you're, like, rooted in something. Because, like I said, you can't make the people act on things that are real. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it turns into, when you start just being fake with your actions and small little actions that aren't doing anything, and all of a sudden now your small actions is not doing nothing and wasting your own time and money. You know what I'm saying? So anyway.
Well, that's how, I was like young once.
Yeah.
And I still love street action. I love getting out in the streets. It's fun. I love yelling at cops, and you know what I'm saying? It's just like it's a lot of fun. I completely get it.
Yeah.
And like, there were times in my life when, especially like during Occupy and stuff, where I was like out almost every day.
I'm just gonna come right back into this conversation right here. You're out with Occupy.
Yeah. So just like I understand people that just want to get out and do exciting protests and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I've also learned that like there's a real satisfaction that comes from like doing the sort of boring work in some ways.
Right.
Like creating the Chinook Center. I mean, it was kind of hard, you know what I'm saying? Like, and we're there a lot, and there's a lot of times when it's just like nothing is really happening. And we had to, like, when we were there over the summer, and like with our hammers and saws and all this stuff, and it was like hard work, but it was actually a really like building that infrastructure that then can be like used by other people and later and stuff. That's also really satisfying,
right?
You know, you feel like you are contributing something that can stay, that will maintain itself, that will help other people. And that's not saying like don't get out in the streets too. Get out in the streets. Like, and if you're not a person that likes to get out in the streets, don't go out in the streets. Do the other things, you know?
Right.
There's
but just
other
things to do.
Exactly. Do all those things.
Yeah, and you know, I guess that kind of leads to my point of you know, for the folks that was on the radio, we just kind of came out of a song on a hard stop because we was in a good conversation on the live feed here on Facebook on Just Cause's live feed. But you know, finding a mentor, man, you know, I think that I was like, wait a minute, why didn't I fall into all of that craziness? Oh yeah, John and Sam, that's right. You know what I'm saying? I had a really like.
Wait, we kept you out of the craziness?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, from like I was in the real stuff. You know, I didn't have to go fumble around and realize I didn't like this group or that group or all of these things that had to happen. You know, I had Kevin Mitchell. You know, I had you guys and you know, Stephanie Rose and Promise Lee, and I had these people where I could be like, oh, that's what right looks like. Let me go that way. And you know, before that, you know, I had Bruce Crosby, you know, and Christina Brennan and things like this, and Lexi Miller, like that would, like, hold on, this is the right way to go. So find the people that like are the ones that you know that you can trust, that are doing doing it the right way and doing it you know, effectively, because then, you know, you could kind of groom yourself into it. You know what I'm saying? That was a big deal.
I think that's a like great point. So coming back, let's wrap up with like, what did we learn? I mean, what's the final thing we learned about politics over the last 6 months?
What? You asking the wrong one.
You know, one thing I learned, you were talking about all these leaders. For so long, I've been doing so much activism, and I feel like this year, like meeting you and getting involved with like you, and like Kevin and those folks, like
right.
Being actually involved in the community and doing work from the community, like I feel like I've always had a hard time being there. I'm like always the one that's like, no, I'll come in and tell you how to do stuff, you know?
Right.
And it's really hard for somebody like me to not just tell people what to do.
Right. Yeah, me too.
And that's right. But it is actually more satisfying when you do have like a base in the community, right?
Yeah, where it's like like you come from like you're already at that.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not from the South Side or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like I've been welcomed.
Yeah, welcomed heartily, man. Hell yeah, everybody loves you guys, man. And you know, and again, like it just goes back to the point that because it's real work and it's real stuff. You know, like you know, people have come through K-Land with fake stuff, trying to pull it out of the community and just go with it somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Or do whatever they're doing with it. There's a lot of organizations that are operating. Well, maybe not. There's a few that are operating right now that are, you know, are responsible for doing those things to K-Land and to Pikes Peak Park and you know, Deerfield and stuff. So anyway, being that they saw this and went through this stuff and like, okay, come on, Chinook, this is different. You know what I'm saying? It was like a complete different validation. And those organizations that weren't welcome, that were booted out of there, know that. You know what I'm saying? They see it. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, you being like, no, we have to make sure that we're legit in the community. I think that's just like, that rings in my head. Yeah. Continue, like it's like a really important thing.
Right. Yeah, man. So anyway, man, you know what it is man, it's like an inherent. I want to call it. The word I want to use is task. Like it's an inherent. Like you have to do what you can do for this community. You know what I'm saying? The best way that you possibly can. And then once you got the opportunity to do it, don't be afraid to say, nah, like this is the right way that we're gonna go, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? And that's it.
I think that's a great point, because once you have to like grasp things.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's an important lesson I think in politics too. Like you can't be wishy-washy, I think.
Right. You know, they say that, you know, politics and activism are, you know, activism is politics, you know, pretty much. So you're right about that. So I think that's exactly it. And we don't have money built in. We don't have a tax, you know, coming into us that we can just do whatever we want. You know what I'm saying? So being able to redirect people's attention to what the real need is and what the real thing is. And I guess like not, hey, this is the shiny thing that's the most important that you need to be paying attention to, but no, we built this over here, so now we got to put money into it, and using it to do the right thing is so important, because when you got a nonprofit that you're building up right now, or that you have already built up, and you're using the money wrong, or you're doing something that's not right, or whatever, that stuff sticks with people, and they're broke already. They don't got time for you to be playing with them, so you're doing us a disfavor too, the ones that really, really are using the money for what it's supposed to be done, and like it's a hard road to toe for real, especially when you got a little bit of bank account. It's like, wait a minute, you could just do this. Like, nah, you really can't though, because that money's not there for that or whatever. It's just being disciplined in the way that you take care of the people and the money, and the people's money and the people's will. Is what'll make it stay and stick. You know what I'm saying? What'll make K-Land say, all right, that's what's happening. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man.
And speaking of people's money, I just want to give another thing that people need to get out for this next budget hearing. Yeah. That's happening on Tuesday at 10 a.m.
Right, so it's online, right?
Yeah, everything's online now because COVID. But we'll send out. I'll post something in here too, because the city's just not listening. No, they have to listen to us,
and they're going to use.
This is our money.
It's COVID. We didn't have any. Listen, for that last budget meeting, we engulfed them with nothing but causing the what's the word, opposing them. You know what I'm saying? In the opposition. And they still passed it. They still went forward like they didn't even hear us talking. That's exactly what they did. So we got to pay attention and don't go to sleep on these people, man. We're gonna play some songs here in a minute by Marlon. I forgot his name anyway. His name's Yellow Pain, and he's talking about the voting process and the way that the government is set up. With the three branches of government or whatnot, and that we don't even really understand that. We vote for the president, and then we vote for Congress, and then every 2 years it flips, and you got to go back and vote and figure it out. Like right now, in Georgia, I think they
have their runoff election.
Their runoff is going right now.
It'll be January when they actually do the vote.
So
they're deciding who's going to be on there.
Who's going to be on there? Yeah, so it's like a 50-50 split for all of them, right?
And I gotta say, if the Senate remains in Republican control, it's
a wrap.
Nothing's going to happen, because Mitch McConnell's just going to block. He's not going to let anything happen.
Trumping it up there. He's got to get Mitch up out of there, man. And I mean, honestly, like, he don't got any business being in there at all. He shouldn't even be the minority leader. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, man.
So if anybody in Georgia's listening,
please, hey, Shanita, come on, Shanita, share the link now. Come on, nah, for real though, back them up, man. Get on there and say, hey, man, we're watching you from Colorado, or something. You know what I'm saying?
The hope of the nation is resting on your shoulders.
I told, hey, man, I posted to Arizona and to Arizona and what was it? Was it
Michigan?
No. It was. Nevada, I guess it was. I think it was one of the, was that them the two that we were waiting on? I was like, hey man, Colorado, we'll turn the water off on y'all. So I sent them a notice about the Rocky Mountain will cut we'll cut it off if y'all get this vote wrong, man. They got it right,
exactly.
so we left the water on, man.
So what was your final thing that you learned this year about politics?
Man, so I learned that in American politics is a popularity contest. You know what I'm saying? That Americans, I guess I knew this already, but Americans don't pay attention to our government and the way that we operate and run. What got me was when I found out that the core base of Trump's voting base, only represented 30% of the GDP or 20% of the GDP. Right. So I recognized that he targeted the poorest and the most, and we knew this, but he really brutalized mentally the most vulnerable of our society, and he did it purposefully. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like he's probably gonna try it again, man. It feels like there's no
like 80.
Yeah, man, he's gonna be. I think that's the only thing that then you're gonna have to fight the ageism or whatever that's embedded in that. But I mean, yeah, man. Anyway, it's gonna be there. So I feel like the biggest thing I learned was that racism and capitalism, or maybe the opposite, capitalism and racism, are the biggest driving force in America still to this day. And when it all shakes out, that's really the root of what we're trying to get through.
That's what makes things run.
Right.
There. Like,
so, you know, like when I talk about being openly socialist in mind, state, and action, like I want to defeat capitalism, you know, and I want to show my community that we can do it, and there's a whole bunch of different ways to do so.
Right. Because that's all it is. That's all socialism is building up a society that's community, really.
That's community. That's it, man. And you know, we have examples of it in our history as a country, over and over again, of socialistic programming and the mind state of the people that built this thing up to what it is that really made America great, and just being able to recreate it in small utopias, socialistic utopias. I guess is going to be something that we'll be able to break it down one piece by piece, hopefully. Anyway,
Right
we'll
on.
see. And if not, then oh well, man, I'm going to die trying it.
Exactly, and that's the best thing to die trying.
Hell yeah.
I think. So if you guys ever want to just come down to the Chinook Center and debate us about these things, we're there usually.
Yeah, I'm with it, man. We're with it.
And we're all about it.
And look, but watch your tone, though. Look, don't be loud talking me in my establishment, man.
True,
You know
that's
what I'm saying? I will not have that Nicky Barnes, man. I'm Nicky Barnes. All right, man.
All right,
Hey, we
thanks a
finna
lot,
get to this
everybody.
music, man. Peace, man. Hey, Dead Mike, that song was a jam, man, with Mitchie Bands and then John Binks, man. That's love, G.
See you guys.
All
Peace
right,
out.
man.